Hey, this is Joe Gilder from Home Studio Corner. I want to talk about mixing lead vocals today. Last week we talked about mixing background vocals, and since then I've mixed a song where I had a little bit of trouble with the lead vocal, and I'm fairly happy with where it landed, but I want to talk you through some of the issues, specifically when the lead vocal tone isn't exactly what you want and when you start dealing with sibilance. Now, I know that the de-esser is a part of that solution, but there's a way to kind of approach it that's worked well for me. I want to share that with you. So here is the song. Again, this is one we're mixing over at Dueling Mixes this month.
I'm walking on fire. You tell me I don't have to fear tonight. You're my drunk with desire. And you don't know what's wrong or right.
Okay, you get the idea. The vocal that we got, this is the vocal part.
I'm walking on fire.
And then we actually were provided with the vocal echo track.
I'm walking on fire.
So the echo was actually something that the producer put in, so that all those effects are already kind of baked in. But specifically, I want to talk about the lead vocal. So here is my mixed vocal. Let's start here.
You tell me I don't have to fear tonight.
Here's what the raw track sounds like.
You tell me I don't have to fear tonight. You're my drunk with desire.
Now listen to this part right here.
And you don't know what's wrong or right.
And then right here.
Our souls consumed by fire.
That's a great spot to show you. What do you notice about this vocal, first of all? Before I tell you what I hear, imagine you're mixing this and you hear this raw vocal. What do you hear? What are the problems you need to overcome? Let's take a listen.
Our souls consumed by fire. Nothing left to say.
For me, it's two big things. One, it's muddy. So there's a kind of a whoa, whoa, whoa to the vocal that needs to be taken care of, which initially you think, okay, let's make that brighter. But then listen to the top end, the sibilance on those S's that she's singing, it's really sibilant. So somehow it's both muddy and also very sibilant. Take a listen.
Our souls consumed by fire.
Now, I don't know the details of how this was recorded. It doesn't really matter. It's not a bad recording, but it's not the best. But we can deal with that. Sometimes that's the deal. I talk about getting it right at the source a lot. Ideally, it would be a microphone that fits the voice well and the raw vocal sounds closer to mixed than this, but that's great. It's fine. We can make that work. But I want to walk you through kind of the thought process of how I got that to work. So I've got two tracks here in case you're trying to figure out what's going on in my session. This one right here is the lead vocal track, and that's going to my vocal bus. I'm not going to explain that. That's just how I roll. So the first plugin in the chain is actually an EQ that I use mainly to just tame the extreme low end and the extreme high end, and then some of that muddiness there. So here's the raw vocal, and I'll turn this EQ on. You can hear what it's doing. This is step one.
Our souls consumed by fire. Nothing left to say.
So that was just to get it more to the tone that I would want out of a raw vocal. So I'm not trying to really make it sound mixed. I'm just trying to take care of this extreme low end, a lot of that buildup that was happening here.
Our souls consumed by fire.
Take some of that down, and then some of that extreme top end that was there. It's just exaggerated. It reminds me of maybe what a cheaper microphone might sound like, or maybe there was some EQ settings on the way in that were boosting the high end that sounded fun and exciting in the studio, but ended up being too much. I don't know, because I didn't record it, but that's what I did to start. Next, it's going into the fat channel, which is kind of my analog emulation plugin. So I've got this tube compressor here. Actually, first thing, another high-pass filter, because it was still a little too boomy. Probably not recommended, but that's just how it ended up working. And then through a compressor, and then through this EQ. So let's just listen to what that sounds like. I'll start with it off, and then I'll turn it on.
Our souls consumed by fire. Our souls consumed by fire. Nothing left to say.
So now we got it nice and in your face. Sharp and sibilant on the top end, but everything else, if you could ignore that sibilance for a minute, because we're going to deal with that, it actually is working pretty well. So what did we do? We rolled off some more low end. We took out some frequencies below 220. We took out some frequencies at 700, and we boosted just a little bit of the top end, just a little bit at 7K and up whatever this frequency is here. And we got that aggressive, compressed sound that we've come to expect out of a pop vocal. Here it is again without, and I'll turn it back on.
Our souls consumed. Our souls consumed by fire.
It's like she came forward without being really much louder. Now what's the problem? It's the sibilance. Now the argument could be, well, Joe, don't compress as much so you don't have as much sibilance, but I like everything I'm getting from the compressor except for the sibilance. So I'm going to follow up this with some form of de-essing. Now I actually don't have a de-esser plugin, and I've managed to just make do using this multi-band compressor that comes with Studio One. So I've probably showed you this before. There's three, I've set it up with 3 bands. The first band, nothing's happening. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. There's nothing happening in this band. The second band is from 2 to 4K, and it's got a big 20-to-1 ratio, 1 millisecond attack, and then there's another band of 4K and above. Now, both of these are set to the same threshold, same ratio, same attack and release. It's just they're treating both differently. There's going to be different sounds in this 2 to 4K range that's more just nasally sounds, and then above that's going to be the sibilance. So here it is without the de-esser, then I'll turn it on, and you can hear most of the vocal is untouched, but then those sibilant parts, when they come out, are being turned down.
Our souls consumed by fire. Our souls consumed by fire.
Now, is it too much? Maybe. Listening by itself, it starts to feel like maybe that's too much de-essing, but let's listen to it in context of the mix.
Our souls consumed by fire.
Actually feels about right. There's enough S there to hear it without it being super, super sharp. Next thing is an X-Trem plugin. That's just a tremolo thing that I used at one point in the song. We don't have to talk about that. And then the final thing is I finally did some EQ shaping at the end. So yeah, I've got 3 EQs on this vocal, but they're all, I kind of got the tone that I wanted, and then towards the end of the mix, I thought, this vocal still needs a little bit of work, so I added one more EQ. So here it is before that EQ.
Our souls consumed by fire.
And here it is with.
Our souls consumed by fire. Nothing left to say.
So we just thinned it out a little bit. Some of that mid-range stuff that was just interfering with everything else in the mix and making it not sound as clean and crisp, we took some of that out. So it sounds like an EQ boost in the highs. We actually just took out some mids and low mids to accomplish that. And here is our final vocal tone.
Our souls consumed by fire. Nothing left to say. Gonna burn this temple down now. Burn it all away. Burn it all away.
Is it the best vocal mix of my career? I don't know, probably not, but it demonstrates something that I do a lot when I mix vocals, which is if it needs some tone work, let's do that tone work with this first EQ. Then let's do our compression and kind of more kind of the basic get it going bread and butter EQ and compression. Then if we need some de-essing, let's do that next. And then if the overall tone now needs to be shaped a little bit more, we can EQ that again. Does it seem convoluted? Maybe, but to me, this is a very straightforward, simple process. I don't do this every time. Each step was brought in because it was necessary. So if I can get away with just one EQ, one compressor, I'll do that lots of times if it works. If it doesn't work, then I add another tool to fill in the gap and make it sound like it needs to sound. All right, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. If you haven't checked out my 5-step mix guide, go to 5stepmix.com. It's free. Enter your email. I'll send it to you. That'll get you on my email list, and you can check out all the other cool stuff we have going on around here at Home Studio Corner. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one.